You're listening to Grassroots Community's What Really Matters podcast. My name is Ben Carpenter, and we'll be talking with young people across Bristol about what really matters to them. Also, we'll be talking with adults in communities with lived experience and professionals like youth workers about what it's like for young people growing up in our city today. On today's show, we met up with 17-year-old Tanikka Green from Artcliffe to find out what really matters to her. Hello, Tanikka.
Hello.
How did we first meet then? Do you want to talk us through it?
So basically I was just out or whatever with one of my friends, Alicia, and then we were just out and about. We was walking along Philwood nearer to, we was walking back from Melvin's Crest, we was walking along the side road, and literally just as we got up towards the chip shop and that, bumped into you and Donna and just got speaking or whatever. Obviously you already know Alicia, well you and Donna already know Alicia.
So we were doing detached youth work out, basically engaging young people on the streets. We'd met up with a couple of your mates a few weeks before, but then the next week, you were there.
Bumped into me. But obviously we just got speaking or whatever. I turned around and said I wanted to be a midwife or whatever, like for a career. Turned around and told you what GCSE courses or whatever I took for my options and that, which I ended up choosing photography, health and social, childcare, and triple science. And then the week after that one again, so within about 2 weeks, I started off doing detached every Thursday after school with you and Donna as we arranged, essentially.
So that was as a young leader, wasn't it? I mean, the thing was as well, so I worked with your brother, didn't I, before, and then suddenly I was chatting to you and I was like, hang on a minute, it's a small world. And it was the thing, I swear you said something about you want to make a difference to other people.
To my community and to help other people that's been in my situation or been better in my situation but similar, or maybe even been worse.
I remember hearing, so it was something like that. I just looked at Donna. You're the first young leader we ever had. And it was like the idea pretty much come from talking to you. And I was like saying to Donna, I was like, there is no pathway to youth workers, particularly, and there wasn't at that point. Let's try and pay something so we can kind of provide a bit of a pathway and experiences of young people that want to make a difference in their communities to come and support the different sessions. We'll go on to that in a bit. What was it like for you growing up in your community, whether that be at home or at school or whatever, really? What were the challenges and what were the positives?
I think one of the challenges was, I'd say, being a mixed race girl in a not a very multi-diverse area and going to school being the only mixed race girl in the class. You know, I mean, going to school and possibly only being the person of colour in the school. You know what I mean? But to be entirely honest, how was that a challenge? Because you were saying it was a challenge. Because before, and I went to 2 primary schools. I went to Cheddar Grove first of all. I was there till around about the middle of year 2. And then I ended up moving to St. Peter's. The main reason I moved from Cheddar Grove was because of racial bullying. And my older brother as well, he also received a lot of it. And I think at one point he was assaulted. Like physically assaulted. But obviously I was just picked on or whatever, and obviously my nan called the head teacher up, said look, she wants a meeting or whatever put in place. We had that meeting put in place, and then that was it. She turned around and said, if you can't turn around and do anything for my grandkids just because they're mixed race and coming to your primary school, I'd just rather just turn around and take them out of it.
I just wonder, I mean, there's going to be loads of people out there that from mixed race background, or lots of people with different from different cultures and various other kind of things, whether it be identifying in different ways. And how do you think those early experiences of coming up against racism, how do you think that's impacted how you grew up and how you are now? Do you think it's made a difference to how you are now?
Massively. Because I think now that I've been through that, I've got more of I can relate to a lot of other people that like can be gay, transgender, lesbian, whatever. You know what I mean? Even if I can't remember what it's called, but it's like when you're not into boys or girls. Like, you know what I mean? No matter what colour you are, where you're from, who you are as a person, anything like that, we all bleed the same blood. Like, if you look at the palm of your hand now, you see your veins. They're all blue. We all carry the same blood. We all bleed the same blood. The majority of us have eyes. You know what I mean? We're all human. And I think that is the main thing that humbled me.
Do you think funny enough, I was chatting, as you know, I just come back from holiday and I was chatting to my partner Ever about something. There was someone that was, who was it? K Tempest, who's, I don't know if you know it, basically a rapper, and it's like how people identify with a gender, or they don't necessarily identify with any gender, like you said.
Oh, I've heard about that, yeah.
She's an absolutely amazing artist. Well, he, that's the whole point. It's like, you know, but I just wonder, and my partner Heather was saying, look, young people are going to grow up. There ain't going to be a thing. There's not going to be like you look at people in a certain way. It's just people are people. Now, hearing you say that is exactly what she was saying. But do you think that is something that's widespread with young people now? Like people?
Definitely not.
Interesting.
There's still, to this day, so many racial bullies, homophobic bullies. You know what I mean? I've got a best friend that's gay. Throughout pretty much the whole of secondary school, obviously he done dance and then he got into theatrical makeup. The minute he got into theatrical makeup, he was bullied really bad. Like, it's terrible.
I wonder, I mean, again, I'm chucking these questions at you, but do you think it makes a difference where you come from? Like, and I don't mean like where you come from, as
what
in
area?
as in your dad might come from Jamaica. I don't mean it like that. I mean like if you come from and I say these words which are crap, but you know what I mean, more marginalised community, as in more challenging, where there might be more poverty or that kind of thing. Do you think that being different in a community that is more marginalised for those kind of reasons, like I said, poverty and the other things that go with it, do you think it's more difficult to be different in whatever way you might identify than it would be in communities that's more affluent, more money, more opportunities?
Yeah, that is really part of it, to be fair, I reckon.
Why do you think that would be then? And a little bit of hay fever kicked in for Tanikka. She had a little bit of snot going down her face, and now she's wiped it off and she's back on track. So what difference do you think it makes then? I mean, if it does make a difference, I don't know. If you identify with a different kind of group that is supposedly seen as being different, whether that be your culture, your background, your ethnicity, sexuality, gender, all those things, do you think it makes a difference that you're more, it's more open and you're not looked down upon so much in a richer community?
To the way society works nowadays is like, if you're richer, if your mum and dad's richer, that makes you richer. Because you're richer, your life's easier, you're more comfortable, you're set for life and all that, you know what I mean? And like, it's like, because you have that decent amount of money, because you are all financially stable, it's like, you're comfortable, you haven't got any other stresses about anything else, you haven't got to be insecure, you haven't got to worry about rocking up to school with shoes on your feet. With shoes on your feet, with holes in your shoes that's on your feet. You know, I mean, you haven't got to stress about that. You haven't got to stress about it when you wake up in the morning if there's going to be gas and electric or whatever, so you can do your breakfast and so you can wake up warm.
Do you think then, because I'll challenge that a little bit, because I 100% agree, having some kind of financial stability will make your life less stressful. And let's be honest, stress can impact you in lots of different ways. If someone's having to stress about paying the bloody rent or getting dinner on the table, then that suddenly impacts on their mood, how they like act and react to their family, their kids, their whoever. Obviously, it makes a huge difference. It has an impact on the kids. But if you're from a rich background and you're mixed race, or you're from a rich background and you're a lesbian, or whatever, you don't identify as a boy or a girl, what impact would money have on that?
Again, I reckon it's just a big thing of everyone being too insecure and too, what's the word? too like obsessive over social media and what goes on online and what goes on in other people's lives. I think that is like that's what causes so much insecurity, bullying or whatever to other people, and why we get set to these stereotypes, because that's essentially what it is.
And so those stereotypes then from what you just said then, those stereotypes impact on everyone.
Yeah.
Because social media doesn't, you look at something, you can't tell how much money someone's got. I mean, obviously you can if they're suddenly flashing, Rolex watches and all that kind of stuff. But generally, like, you can't tell, can you? So you'll see someone for how they come across on that picture.
Yeah, it's like, even with racial bullying and things like that as well, see, like, it was always just the same normal, well, not normal, but nasty kid that would always turn around and try to pick on me, or even throughout secondary school and all that. I've seen it all myself, like, just because, say for example, I don't know, Dominic's mum's a single mum, whatever, on herself, claiming benefits and all that sort of thing. Say for example, she gets £200 a month to live off, for herself and her child to live off. On top of that, she'll get like an extra £73 child benefit, whatever. So altogether, it's £270 a month. Whereas, I don't know, Callum's dad is a single parent, goes to work, owns his own business. On top of that, he gets X other amount of money and everything else, you know what I mean? He gets everything. He's got all there handed to him. But poor Dominic, he's got a stress or whatever for his mum. His mum can't make his back lunch. His mum ain't got the money for his school meals. You know what I mean? I think that, like, because that Dominic hasn't got that money or hasn't got that stability at home, that Callum then thinks because he's got it all, he can just turn around and go and pick on that Dominic.
Is it always the same with any bully that they pick on someone as the easy option? Someone that might be seen as the outcast, someone that in that kind of group where more people are friends, someone that's an easier option, they're less likely to
The way I see it is like, the rich kids don't know the struggle that the not so fortunate kids go through, and what the not so fortunate people go through to end up where they ended up, to go for, and like, you know what I mean, to try and...
How can that, because I'll be honest with you, I think people must have problems no matter what their situation. There's no way that we can both sit here and say that someone that comes from a more fortunate background hasn't had any troubles in their life, but it's definite to say that they haven't experienced the kind of stuff you're talking about and the kind of stuff that we could talk more about. But how does that change? Maybe it's these discussions. Is making it more obvious about how people feel coming from more challenging backgrounds, more disadvantaged, more backgrounds that have got poverty at home growing up, along with other things that come around. I mean, what other kind of things do you know of when you were growing up at home that come around poverty? Because this is the trouble. It's a bigger picture, isn't it? It ain't just mum can't make the bloody packed lunch. Around poverty, other things happen, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like you don't have to say anything you don't want to say.
In families, you know what I mean? Regardless, something bad's always going to happen. Like, anything could happen at any given point. You know?
So, I mean, I know you said about you can't predict things, but what you can predict is that, for example, at 12 years old, if you've got a one-parent family, if you're on free school dinners, if you've got a learning difficulty, you're more likely, I can't remember the percentages, so I'm not going to say it, but it's like ridiculous, more likely to be expelled from school. And like, I'll just say a number, but it ain't the actual number, 80% more likely or 90% more likely than the rest of the population to go into prison.
Yeah.
Now, if that is known through research, why aren't we then additionally supporting those kids that we already know, and it ain't only just people with those particular things going on in their life and characteristics, but if they've done research and they know that, then there's certain people that we could talk, do you know what I mean, like close to home that we could talk about, that we knew that we could have gone and supported from a younger age that probably would have directed them onto a more positive path before they hit the path that got them right in trouble with whatever, whether it be violence, drugs, and various other things, criminality.
And I think...
Why doesn't that happen?
This is my question, because I've seen enough people during my time, and even with my family, you know.
What kind of things have you seen?
Like, so, say for example, with another one of my family members, she was like stable and everything else. She was alright. She had 2 jobs, everything. Like, she used to look after me and my older brother on the weekends. Then on a Sunday, we'd all meet up at my nan to go for and you know what I mean, traditional family stuff. And then like that. Literally after 12 years of her being with her partner, everything just went wrong. And that was it. She had to leave her fiancé and everything else. I was engaged for about 8 years of the whole 12 years. And then now, you know what I mean, she's ended up homeless. She's ended up in Jamaica Street Hostel and that. You know what I mean? And then now she's like got her own place and everything else. She's mentally on top, basically. But like, how do I explain it?
What happened for her situation to go down there like that? What was that? What was the trigger for it?
It's just pretty much bad luck. Essentially, that can come to anyone.
So
like,
was
no
that
matter
like,
how good you do in school, no matter how bad you do in school, this is my point. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. You can get to where you want to be as long as you work for it. But because, like, don't work too hard for something too big. Because when that drops and you lose it, you're going to end up at the bottom.
Well, just remember, when you're stepping up that ladder, the way that you treat people when you're going up it, they're the same people you meet when you go back down it.
There you go.
So all you got to do is be good, kind, and not pee on anyone's parade. Do the right thing.
Not
be
weird
honest,
anyone's cornflakes.
and you'll get somewhere.
Yeah.
And you are getting somewhere. I mean, can I say something? At the moment, you're living in St. George's House, aren't you?
Yeah.
So how old are you at the moment, Tanikka? 17. And, you know, that's got to be challenging. That's got to be a challenge.
Don't get me wrong, it's not the best. But, you know what I mean? It's just not home. But because, for various reasons, I can't live at home and I won't live at home, it's what I've got to do. But because I'm not going to sit there and turn around and let it dictate to who I am. You know, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and like let the fact that I live in a youth hostel with kids that's age 16 and adults to 25 turn around and ruin my life and, you know what I mean, make me out to be a bad person or whatever, you know what I mean? I'm still going to work and still do things to give myself a better future, regardless.
I think now's a good time to point this out because, we talk to different people throughout the podcast series and everyone's from different backgrounds and they have different views on things. And I just like, and I've said it to you before, but I want to say it so other people hear it, that I just, since meeting you the first time and supporting you in Dinner Detached with Donna, you've had this outlook which is refreshing in comparison to many, if not any, young person that I work with over the last 15 years. And it is that view of you're going to give things a try. You're not going to let those troubles and challenges, and there's been many of them, which we ain't going to talk around today, you know, that have come your way and you've had to deal with it at a young age. And, you know, I'm not saying lots of people have those kind of things as well. You're not the only person, but it's how you react and how you challenge those things. How you
find ways to cope with it is what coping mechanisms you use, basically.
But you're open to trying things. And I think, like, if there's other young people that are listening to this, that may listen to it, the things like, you know, like there's been other projects you've been involved in, you've done one with the Growing Streets Together project, the street party project.
Yeah, I've done that in Wilmot Park. I've done bike projects, mental health projects with you at Bridge.
Yeah, mentoring.
There you are.
Boxing project. But there's something about you saying yes, about willing to give things a go, will mean that other opportunities come your way. Like, I mean, let's think about it.
You need to get your foot in to get that gate open.
Yeah.
The minute you've got your foot in, that's it. Hallelujah.
Yeah, but the point is, you were saying about people in situations that come from more affluent, richer backgrounds. But you're paving a way for you now because of your mindset and the decisions that you make. Like, let's be honest, Where did we go the other week? We were, first of all, you were talking in front of loads of business people this year-long program we're going to do, and you're going to be a young person on it, the Grassroots Activators program. You were chatting, talking about your background and you know how you got involved with grassroots communities. That was with businesses. Then, more recently, you were chatting in front of, it was about 400, I mean, I might be saying the words wrong again, 400 accountants underneath Concord at Filton in Bristol, and talking to them again about, you know, your distance travel and things you've done. And then I can say it now because it's tomorrow we're going. You're going to meet Princess Anne, the Queen's daughter, tomorrow. And it is all. None of this means anything. But what it does mean is when you say yes and when you've got that mentality that you'll give things a try, things happen.
When you take the opportunity whilst it's there, you will go further than what you expect. So, like, I didn't ever in a million years think at all that I was going to be able to come out and do Detach Review and Donna and become a youth worker and get the experiences that I've got. I could ever, 10-year-old me could not picture me being in this. I couldn't even picture myself being in this factory, well, old factory or whatever now. You know what I mean? I couldn't ever picture myself sitting there today filming this podcast with you. But because I took the opportunities whilst it come at me, I've made it. I'm doing it.
Let me level with you. Nor could I. Do you know what I mean? It's all a journey, but it's the mindset that means that the journey continues. All it takes, I'm not saying you just shouldn't say no to things, because you should. You should definitely like pick and choose things you think should work. But you have that open mindset and things happen, and they have happened. And I tell you what, I'm super proud, and more things will happen. So, I mean, one thing we haven't said that we've been asking other people, because I knew we'd go off on one, like we did last time. Do you think you have your voice heard? And that is, as a young person, do you think you have your voice heard, whether that be with friends, whether that be at home, whether that be within the city? Do you think you have your voice heard, and why?
Growing up, I didn't have my voice heard as much as what I wish I did. So, like, when I turned around and tried to stand up for what was right, I'd be told, no, that's wrong, because you think that, because that's come from your mouth, that's just wrong, because you said it. That's like, so you could sit there and tell me 2 add 2 is 3, and right now, Ben is 4. And I tried to explain to you why and how it's 4, and you said, no, it's wrong just because you turned around and told me it. You know what I mean? Like, things like that is like, regardless to what it is, if you have something to say, you just need to say it. Basically, don't let anyone turn around and tell you you can't turn around and be so much, do so much. You can't do this, you can't do that for whatever reason, because you can do anything you want in life. And like, because my voice, I felt like, as a child, I felt like my voice wasn't heard the way I wanted it to be heard. If I had a point to explain, or if I was angry, upset, happy, whatever, and I couldn't express what I was feeling, I think that is just what's pretty much knocked me back a few steps in terms of school. Because even in school, like with bullying and things like that, in secondary school, whatever, if I turned around and spoke up, it'd be, oh no, we ain't got no proof of that, we can't do nothing about it. So I didn't get no support, and nothing happened to the bully. The bully didn't get isolation, detention, or anything like that.
How did that make you feel then?
Pretty much isolated. If I'm honest, I felt like I was just trapped in a cage, being bullied by numerous different people, whatever, in a new school, and that it was just horrible. It's absolute terror. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But because, like, I felt like my voice wasn't heard, I think that's why now, like, even with things like my little sister, if she's got something to say, I'll turn around and say to her, if you've got something to say, tell me, and I'll turn around and say it for you, or I can help you say it. And that's like, regardless, your voice needs to be heard. Like, anyone, no matter who you are, what you are, and even if you're listening to this or just hearing it through your friend's phone or whatever, if you have something to say, whether it's bad, good, anyone's going to like it or not. No one has to like what you have to say, the same way you don't have to like what anyone else has to say.
There's no right or wrong answers, are there, to anything? And on that note, if there are anyone out there, is there a young person that's out there that has got something to say, whatever it is about their, it don't have to be about their background, about what really matters to them, they can get in touch with us and we can talk to them. and get that opinion heard, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. It's just what really matters to them. And I wonder, what is it that really matters to you? No right or wrong answer. It doesn't matter what it is.
What matters to me? Time and my future. That is what matters to me. Because if I didn't have time, if I sit around and waste my time, so say for example, it's a Monday morning, I'm in a bad mood, I can't be bothered to get up out of my bed, go shower, go about my business, do something with my day, I've just wasted all that time. I've just fully wasted 24 hours. Why did I do that? That's 24 hours I can't get back. So like, with your time, do something with it. Because honest to God, even when I didn't go into school and things like that because I just couldn't be bothered, or if like I woke up and I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and I was like, oh no, I don't want to go to school today, and I stayed in bed. I wasn't allowed to go out if I didn't go to school. I wasn't allowed to go out and socialise with my friends outside or whatever if I didn't go to school or anything like that. Like my nan had quite set, strict rules for us to stick to growing up, and I'm proud of that. I'm glad she did have that. Because if she didn't, I didn't think I'd be here today in this position, if I'm honest.
So you live for the moment and don't let time pass. Make things happen. I mean, as soon as you get into the situation where you, like you said,
watch what you're spending your time with and around, and watch what you are doing with your time is the main thing. Spend your time getting into trouble, you're going to spend the rest of your time getting into trouble. Spend your time around people that work and people that want a decent future. Guaranteed you're going to be the next person to get a better future and everything else.
We're all a product of the environment that we're around, and some people don't get to choose that environment. But once you have found yourself in a position where you are willing to make a choice, rightly or wrongly, it could be positive or negative, then just try not to be scared and make those right decisions.
Just make the choice as long as you know it's right for you.
So what about your future then? You're saying something about your future. What really matters about your future?
My youth work and my barbering course.
So if I said to you, and may I say that if it is what you end up sticking to after GAP, you will be an amazing youth worker. Absolutely no doubt. 100%. I can see it a mile off. I can smell it. I can taste it. I'm not joking. Like, you just know, and others will tell you that have been doing this as a career for however long. You just know. Everything you can learn, but you need to have that certain something to start with.
It's just about having that skill.
You can engage young people.
It's the same with counsellors and things like that as well, because obviously I've done a lot of pretty much throughout the whole 5 years that I was in secondary school, I was in counselling due to like family issues and other sort of things. And there was one counsellor before, I think her name was like Judith or something stupid like that. Well, not stupid, but like, you know what I mean, just somewhat basic like that. She just had a really simple name. She was a really simple person as well. And because she was a really simple, normal person, like, well, what is normal nowadays? But like, because she was just that basic person, it's like, you can tell she didn't necessarily have the life experience that I've had, or like, along the lines to what I've had. Because I tried to speak to her about certain things, for example, my mum being in prison. Tried to speak to her about that, she wouldn't have a clue. She'd be like, oh, well, why can't you just ring, when your mum rings you, why can't you just speak to her about this? My mum's in prison, she didn't need that stress. I can't sit there and talk to her about that. You know what I mean? It's like...
So do you think that your lived experience means it's easier for you to engage with some people from your community?
From the way I've helped myself in these past nearly 2 years, I could go on to help anyone in my situation or similar situations.
Please tell Princess Anne tomorrow. I'm gonna give you a little poke.
I will.
Actually, you've got to talk to her in a certain way. I think it's Her Majesty. Anyway, I'll show you the information later. We won't go on about it now, but you can't just go, all right, Anne.
Yeah, you all right, mate? How you doing? Nice to meet you. Lovely.
If you have an ask for other people that might be listening out in the planet, out in the ether, out somewhere, twinkling around in the stars, or in Artcliffe, or in Bedminster, or in the city centre, wherever it is, if there's something you could ask for, doesn't matter what it is, what would it be?
If there was something I could ask for, no matter what it is, what would it be? That's a very good question that I actually have never come across or even thought about.
It's not often I've seen you go quiet.
Because you got my mind going. I don't really know. Well, I think it'd just be to make everyone humble. Have each and every individual person on in the country, at least, just to humble themselves. See a kid rocking up to school with holes in his shoes, or the same school uniform that he's been wearing all week with the same bean stain down the front or whatever. Don't turn around and take the mick out of that kid. Don't turn around and laugh at that kid. You don't know what he's got going on at home. You know what I mean? Things like that. Just humble yourself. That's just all I think the society needs, is just to be humbled. Because even with the kids that get involved in antisocial behaviour, they've got a reason to be doing that, and then 9 times out of 10 that reason is because they're bored and got nothing else to do. Go find yourself a hobby. Go play football. Go kick a ball at your mum's bloody wall or something, you know what I mean? Instead of being out in the streets, terrorising shops and causing a load of antisocial behaviour and that. I think that's what it'd be, just to humble yourself.
Everyone so far, and not that it's a competition, because it's different with everyone, and everyone's got different views and perspectives, and that is what makes the world interesting. But what I completely respect is the fact that the thing that you said as an ask was something that you could get from that ask is still about supporting other people. And that pretty much says everything about you. Anyway, this journey hasn't ended. We're going to go and see Princess Anne tomorrow. And you're going to be doing a Grassroots Activators program for a year. And at the end of that, 100%, there will be another opportunity knocking on your door. And whether you choose to take it or not, that's up to you. But I see a bright future.
Of course I'll take it.
And everything that you said today is the kind of thing that people from other backgrounds that aren't, so knowledgeable about how it is to grow up in different situations, is people like yourself that are talking about those situations, helping spread the word of those challenges. And hopefully that will support others to be more humble. And that's all we can ask. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks for listening to our first ever What Really Matters podcast. If you're a young person and interested in having your voices heard and sharing those opinions, please do get in touch, because this is a platform for you.